Alright, so what we want to work on in this tutorial is when we run our game, the rooms always look the same. So whenever we make it, there's always just 3 rooms, they're always the same size. So we're going to change that. How we're going to do that is in our room.c create room, we're hard coding whenever we call this room.c, we are basically hard coding it to have a certain x position, a certain y position, certain height, certain width. So it's all hard coded. Now, if we open up our grid that I was kind of showing you last tutorial, we can change that to show. Grid doesn't look quite right, but anyways, basic idea is we want to, instead of telling this create room function the exact position and height of each room, we're going to tell it which grid to put the room in, and then we'll randomly generate the room based on what grid the room is going to be in. Okay, so that means instead of taking all these arguments, it's just going to take one argument, and we'll just call it grid. So that will be what grid, what section of the map, what section of the grid the room is going to get placed in. Okay, so that means we have to update our robe.h file for create room and just change all that again to grid. So basically anywhere in this code that used any of those arguments we want to get rid of. So it's going to be just this section here. The doors will all stay the same and everything else will stay the same. Okay, so now we're going to write a switch statement. We're going to switch it on that grid. Okay, so if we pass it a 0, which is going to be this first grid, then basically the starting position of that room, the possibility, will be up here, which is 0, 0. Okay, so in that case, we're going to, well, case 0, I guess we'll just add all these cases in, but break. So in that case, it's going to be new room position dot x equals 0, and same thing for the y. So dot y equals 0. Okay, and then we're gonna have there's 6 different possibilities, so we need to copy and paste this 5 times. Three. 4, 5, okay, and obviously update these. So case 5, case 4, 3. No, I totally miscounted that. There shouldn't be 5. There should be 6. Case 1. Okay, so let's say go for case 1. That's going to be in this section here. So the y position won't change at all, but the x will. And since this is 100 units wide, we're saying, then that means that 100 divided by 3 is basically 33. So this is going to go up 33. So x is equal to 33. Again, y stays the same. Here it's going to be 66, because 33 plus 33 equals 66. And then for the bottom rooms, so this will be room 0, 1, 2, 3, y is going to change. So it's going to go up to 14. And x will not change. Here 14, x 33, and here x 66, y 14. Okay, so that's like the starting, like it kind of gives us the starting position for each room. But they're obviously not all going to always start in the same position because it's going to be random. But we'll get to that. So the next thing, let's deal with the height. So we have new room height, and that's going to equal a random number. Now we need to determine what random range we can have. So the first thing we want to do is we don't want, if the room has a height of 1, then that's just going to look like this, and that's no good. You can't walk in that room. Likewise, if it's 2, it's going to look like this, and that's no good either. So if it's 3, it's going to look something like this. But to me, just a room of 3, it's still too small. I want a minimum of 4. So it's going to look something like a minimum. Every room will look like this, at least to start. Maybe 2, maybe 3 is good enough, but for now 4 is going to be the minimum. So what that means is a random number, whatever random number you generate, is always going to be in the range of 0 to something. So 0 is obviously no good, nor is 1, 2, 3. We want 4. So we're going to add 4 to whatever random number we generate. Okay? So we're adding 4 to something that's in this range. So what do we want the max to be? Okay, well, we only really have 12 to play with here. But we don't want the room to be just huge. We want a bit of space. We want some breathing room between each room. So I'm going to say that the maximum room is going to be, it's going to be 10, okay? So we want, and remember we're adding 4 to that. So we want something that gives us a range of 0 to 6. No. So 7, I think, is what we want. So mod it by 7, and that will give us a range of a number between 0 and 6. Okay, so 6 will be the maximum, but then we're adding 4 to it to make it 10. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so same thing for width, except, no, same thing. We're just going to minimum of 4 width and range between, well, 4 and 10. So 7, mod it by 7. So that's going to be our width to start. Okay, now for placement, well, let's just, we'll stick with this for now. Okay, so where are we calling create room? I think that's in, where is that? Is that in level? Should be in level.c. So here we kind of hard code all of them. We only need this once, and then we're going to do a for loop. So loop through each quadrant of the grid. So int x for our for loop, for x is equal to 0, x is less than 6, there's a maximum of 6 rooms, x plus plus. Okay, and then change these 2 zeros to x's. So this will always give us 6 rooms. And create room, get rid of all these, change that with the x. So it's going to say it's grid 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's not connect any doors at this point. So we'll just comment those out. Okay, let's run this and see what happens. So clear, make, error. Width undeclared. So in room.c, when we make our doors, we're using just width and height, which before we were passing into the function, so that was okay. But now that we're not passing those values in, we just need to replace it with whatever the height and width are. So height, height, and then same thing with width. Width, width, and width. Okay, save that, clear it, make it, and there we go. Okay, so now we can see that there are rooms randomly generating of random size. So they're kind of tall. Let's do a few. Are there any more square ones? Yeah, there's one square one up there. I'm gonna up this because we have a bit more room to play with in the width. So, because remember, the grid is longer than it is tall. We only have kind of 12 pixels to play with here. Not pixels, but you know what I mean. And here we have 33 for each. So let's change this pretty significantly so we get some more square rooms. So I don't know, let's do 14 just as a random number to pick. So yeah, so we're getting a bit more square rooms. We could probably up that even more for our width, but doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Just kind of depends on how large you want your rooms to be. Alright, well this is good enough for now. So now when we make all these rooms, they're always showing up in the top corner of their grid. So we want to put an offset, and we want that offset to be random, so that they're randomly placed. So we'll put our offset down here. Offset. And you know what we're actually going to do is we're going to make the room slightly smaller. So I'll put that to 6, and let's put that back to, I don't know, 14. Okay, so this gives us a max size of 9, right? Because 5 plus 4 equals 9. So max size 9 for our height. And this gives us max size of 13 plus 4, 17. Okay, so for our offsets, what we want to do is we want to add to the position. So new room, position dot x. We want to add to it, so plus equals, and we want, this is width. We want it to be a random number. And let's use this as an example. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The width is 5, okay? So, and let's say the grid is 33. We want it to show up, we want it to be able to show up randomly right at the start of the grid, so way over here, or as far over as we can. So we want a random number, and the range of that number is going to be the minimum width of a room is 4, okay? And the max is, well, don't worry about the max, but the length of the grid is 33. So 33 take away 4 is 29, okay? So 29. So that's like, that's going to be the maximum range. Sorry, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this, so I do apologize. It's just kind of the math behind it's a little confusing. So, or at least confusing for me to explain. It's not actually that confusing. So basically, you have, this is your room, okay? What we want is we want a number that is randomly from 0 to whatever this and this equals, okay? Because then it can show up, this room can show up anywhere along here, but we don't want it to show up all the way over here, then it would go into another grid. Okay, so that's going to look like, then you just take away the width for this, for the X. It's new room width. And then for the Y offset, you're gonna have the same idea, just it's obviously gonna be a smaller number that the range is, because you have a smaller area here. Okay, so that's gonna be not 29, but so let's see, the maximum is, we're saying, let's say 12. The minimum is 4. So 12 take away 4 is 8. So 8 take away new room width. width. Now, does that work? Because what if what if it's 10? Yeah, that doesn't work. So this is 9. 8 take away. Yeah, that doesn't work. That needs to be 9. So that's going to be like 0, a random, like, because it's randomly based upon this too. So, my goodness. 9 and then plus 1, because it can't be 0. And plus 1. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see if that works at all. Terrible explaining, but floating point exception. Okay, so something went wrong there. So file, open tab, make clean. Okay, let's think this through. Why did you go wrong? So random number, anywhere between 9. Wait, I had this backwards. This should be height. Yeah, height. There we go. That makes more sense. There we go. Okay, so now the rooms are randomly showing up. Yeah, okay. So that's a good variety of starting positions for the rooms and sizes, and I'm happy with that. So yeah, that's pretty much our random room generation. One last thing is now when we run it, our player is no longer getting placed in a room. So we've always been placing him in this room. Let's keep doing that. Why are there no monsters? No, there's some monsters. Okay. So this is room 0, 1, 2, 3. So we want to place him in room 3. So in our player.c, player setup, no, not player setup. Let's see where, let's follow the trail here. Level equals create level. So level.c, create level. Where do we make our player setup? And then let's call place player, and we'll pass it the rooms. So new level rooms. Okay, and then we'll write that function in player.c. So just returns an int place player. And eventually the reason why I'm writing this function, we could hard code it, but eventually we're going to be like, you might not always have 6 rooms, so you won't really know. And maybe we'll want it to be like the player gets randomly placed in a room, could get placed in room 6 or 5, could get placed in room 0, you know, so it's just random. So that's can all be handled in this function. So that's why we're writing this. So it takes, I guess it takes a room star rooms, and it might as well take, it should take the player as well. So player star user. Okay, so we also have to pass it new level user. And for now, we're just going to hard code it, but eventually we'll change it. So we're just going to do user position x is equal to, should be star star, rooms, again, third room, position, is it dot or pointer? It's dot. So position dot x, and then just copying, oh, +1, because we don't want them in the wall. So +1, and then y +1. Sorry, I definitely messed this up. Actually, no, I didn't. We'll just copy this. Cut that out. And then just change new player to user. That's all we need. Okay, save that. That should do the job. So clear, make, and there we go. So he's always going to get placed in this corner up here for now. So try it just one more time to show. Yeah, so the room moves position, but the user always goes there. Okay, good. Now, we didn't add this to our .h, so let's just do that in the player functions. Place player, and then we also want, did we write a new? No, we didn't. Okay. So that's it, I think. That's it for this tutorial. And I guess we'll just, I don't know, connect hallways next tutorial. Sure, let's do that.